Well, ladies and gentlemen, it appears to have just started, and it appears that right now, if we're doing this correctly, and I don't know that we are broadcasting live across the internet, across the world. Cheap Heat special edition, 11:30 on a Wednesday night. I'm Peter Rosenberg alongside David Shoemaker, aka the Mass Man. You are listening to a top 16 sports and recreation podcast. How are you, Dave?
I'm good. But more importantly, how are you? You've just won the Intercontinental Internet Technology Championship for getting us on the air just now. It only took about 25 minutes.
And I'm not completely convinced that we are on the air. But yes, I appreciate that. And I don't know if anyone's able to be watching this right now, but if they are, I think it says right now we have 0 viewers. So more,
The people that are subscribed to like the Rosenberg radio feed might have just gotten some sort of alert that there was a new video going up.
Yeah, so you would think. Let's see. I have this event page. Oh, look, there's a YouTube link. Let's see the YouTube page. Let's see if this comes up. Anyways, Dave.
No one listening to this is going to care.
Yeah, exactly. By the time this airs, it's not going to matter. Why don't you get us set up here? Last week I warned. Oh, look, it looks like we're up here. I see us on YouTube. I see us there.
All right, that's reassuring.
Hey, Dave, you try talking, and let me see if it cuts away from just my ugly mug when you talk.
All right. Well, here I am talking, doing a little dance.
Nah.
You don't think I'm recording?
No. Your audio's there, I'm sure, but it's only my ugly mug. I'm gonna have to work on directing this a little bit better. But while I do that, I watched Raw again. I made the terrible mistake of watching Raw live again this week. So why don't you tell us what your big takeaways were from Monday Night Raw? And now it does appear you're on camera, so stop acting like such a creep.
All right, I'll put my clothes on. Listen, I enjoyed Raw. I started writing my column for this week and lost a whole lot of enthusiasm. I think my general takeaway is, here's the thing when I was writing that I couldn't help but think. Imagine if you're one of these casual fans that WWE is so intent on courting, right? Their target demographic. I mean, sure, they want people to watch Raw every week, but what the people they really want are the people who are will get hyped up to watch pay-per-views and nothing else, right? Mm-hmm. Imagine if you're that fan, you watch WrestleMania, and the next thing you turn on is going to be Extreme Rules with half of your favorite wrestlers from WrestleMania are not there.
Yep.
And Randy Orton and Seth Rollins are headlining the show. Now, I love both of those guys, but Seth Rollins was booked as a weaselly lucky cash-in at WrestleMania, basically just a wild card Deus Ex Machina thing. And now it's not that they're not booking him correctly, it's that he's legitimately the number one star on the roster. And that's a great credit to him. But geez, man, they're what's happened? This is the time of the year where we always reboot, where they always give the young guys a chance. I'm not dogging them for that, but man, this is just looking at the card, it's we're all we are the mid card now, and it's a good thing, and it's kind of an uncomfortable thing.
Yeah, Dippers had this exact conversation with me the other day. He was we were talking about the London show and how they normally, will really break out good stuff for the UK and, right after WrestleMania. And then when you're comparing the show, you're talking about Brock is gone. Triple H is not wrestling. Sting is not wrestling. Paul Heyman hasn't been on the show. I'm forgetting someone else. The Rock.
Yeah. And going back further, CM Punk's not here. I mean, this is hopefully the last time I'll bring him up in this sense. But the other big thing, and it specifically relates to the London show, is that Daniel Bryan really hasn't been working that much because there are rumors floating around that he's injured again. And some people are saying concussion, some people are saying something else. It doesn't seem to be an epic neck injury again. But that big London Raw where Bad News Barrett came out to answer the Cena U.S. Open challenge. The rumor is that was supposed to be Daniel Bryan, and they were going to give the London fans a nice 20-minute one-on-one match between the two champions. And and maybe Rusev was going to come make a non-finish. Who knows how that was going to go? But Daniel Bryan was just pulled from the show. We talked about that last week, I think, and I was saying Daniel Bryan only wrestles on SmackDown now, but apparently he was supposed to wrestle on Raw, and he's hurt. So anyway, we'll wait and see how that plays out. That's kind of one of the most interesting subplots for Sunday, if he'll have a match at all. But in the meantime, add him to the list of superstars that aren't particularly around.
Now, how do you feel about the idea that
he did before people start emailing us? He and Cena did have a tag match against Kid and Cesaro on the following SmackDown, but I think they're just they can hide him. So there's obviously something amiss there.
Do you have any concern that like this could be the beginning of the end of Daniel Bryan as we know it? I mean, if him being the active guy, A, does that concern you? And B, is he a guy who's able to tone his style down and be able to work in a style that's less dangerous?
Certainly he can. I mean, listen, Daniel Bryan doing the surfboard is way more interesting to me than him doing a suicide dive. It seems like the flying headbutt's always kind of a cool look, but it's just not. There's plenty that he can do to be interesting without, specifically doing certain stuff. I mean, he's not doing a lot of stuff that made him look really good in Ring of Honor and all the other indies. But there does seem to be a tension, and I don't know if it's some sort of self-loathing situation or just drive to do something better, where he insists on pushing the limits all the time. I mean, he said in interviews that he gets in trouble for going too hard, for letting guys drop him on his head, just in a random SmackDown match. And it's unclear how he got hurt, but it looks like, I mean, there were some reports that it came out of a match against Sheamus where Bryan ended up getting busted open really badly. And it's really hard to tell how it happened, but if you watch the footage, it looks like it might have happened when he just decided to headbutt himself, headbutt his own hand. It's a working headbutt, but he was just doing it so hard that he busted his own head open. I mean, who knows? That's not clear that's what happened, but that's possible. To answer your question, it's totally feasible. He could definitely work in a style that wouldn't get him in trouble, but I don't know if has the personality to do that.
Okay, a couple things here I have to point out. Number one, we have now it says we have 62 live listeners or viewers or whatever. Hopefully,
we really can't be racist, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly. None of the normal racial epithets you plan on dropping you can use. But there's two things here. Number one, for anyone who is listening, I am not sure that I'm doing this right, and the point of this is because you guys may remember I talked about my wife's uncle last week. He passed away, unfortunately. So I am out of town, and we're trying to do this the best we can. So for any of the nerds who are up late listening right now, if you know how to record this audio for us, if you can just I'm being dead serious, because when I finish here, if this didn't record properly, we'll be pissed off. So if you are listening, I'm guessing now we have 75 people listening. If any of you can just hit record on this audio in case we lose it, so we can upload it for the rest of our listeners, I would appreciate it. Now, Dave Shoemaker.
If this doesn't record properly, this is going to officially be the worst day of your life, is what you're saying.
I know, I got to say, it would actually be sort of cool, though, because there'd be this 100 people who'd be like, no, I was there. We actually know this existed. Now, Dave, couple of things. Number one, the background in which you're recording in. Could you have more books? Could you look like more of a Brooklyn hipster writer? And on the top of your shelf, is that 4 copies of your book?
I can't. You're at a really weird angle. Sorry, I'm getting in front of my own light. I need to stay in front of my light. First of all,
Alexa, come say hi. Alexa, come say hi. Wife, come on, just wave to everyone.
These are all fake books, first and foremost, and I had them installed just so I could do video podcast interviews and the like here. Mm-hmm. But I did have them paint a couple of copies of my book.
I see them. I know that. I know the side of your book. I know that book.
Yeah. But thanks for noticing everything. That's
no. It really is. It really is good. I'm glad you cleaned up the empty packs of American Spirits. Anyways, Davis Shoemaker. What was Raw, you did say that when you sat down and tried to write about it, it was a little bit more boring than you remembered.
Well,
Uh,
I mean, I'll say there are two things that really stuck out in the show, and there were a lot of cool little moments. We can go through it point by point, but one, there was a whole lot of RKO's. If JR had been, at the announce table, he would have said shades of Stone Cold Steve Austin, because it was a very peak Austin sort of night for Randy Orton. And also they announced the return of Tough Enough. So with those things combined, I think we're fully back in like 2001. But the return of Tough Enough, if nothing else, was been worth it just for the amazing YouTube submissions that are all over. I mean, that are on YouTube. My guess is that the only reason there's 60 something people watching us right now is because like every wrestling fan is just guilty pleasure watching all of these videos, and somehow we showed up in the sidebar. But I don't want to mention any of them by name because I only even remember the terrible ones. But there are some really, really wonderful, wonderful entries that everyone should go check out.
who stands out so far as your favorite?
I can't. My favorite ones are people that I would be implicitly insulting because they're so insane. So I'm not even going to mention anybody, but it doesn't take that long to tool around and see the ones that are linked to other ones. And wow, there's some impressive work on there.
Real quick, it now says, Shoemaker, that we have 107 people watching. Number one, can you guys tweet me at Rosenberg Radio and tell me if you can hear both of our audios clearly? This is very hard for me because I've never used this live technology before, so I'm really lost. So number one, if you could tell us that, I would appreciate it. And number two, if you could tell us if you're able to record, that would also be fantastic. Okay, my biggest takeaway from Raw this week was, again, sorry, negative. Let me say the biggest negative. The terrible commentary. I mean, Booker was out of control this week. He was nonsensical throughout. Particularly my favorite part that one of our Peckerhead listeners also pointed out to me, and but I had already noticed it, was when he said that Naomi could be one of the greatest divas of all time. That was really, really impressive. But he also was just like, I missed Byron. I like, and again, they had Nikki Bella on commentary again, and there's just like I sincerely believe that commentary does not know whether Nikki Bella is a face or heel.
Well, I don't think creative knows either.
You know what? You might not be wrong about that.
There were some stories that they were trying them out, sort of like putting them in the ring as baby faces while they were on the European tour. So certainly it's in this sort of discussion phase right now. I mean, listen, it seems sort of like unnecessarily reductive, right? I mean, we have a tag team championship match between two heel teams. I guess you can nominally say the New Day haven't turned yet, but they're heels. And this sort of stuff, I mean, it's not that important, especially when, for the first time in a million years, they've actually done some like long-term planning in the Divas division. And Paige, we all know Paige is eventually going to come back as a babyface on Fire and get revenge on Naomi. I mean, she's looming out there, so I don't feel like we like expressly need a babyface in this Divas Championship match. But maybe that's just me.
No, I agree with you. I don't think you really need it. I just would prefer if when you have someone on guest commentary, there's usually a point to that, right? Like every time they bring someone in for guest commentary, it's because you're trying to drive some sort of point home. And when the lead commentary people appear to have no idea how to lead that person, they just keep communicating with her differently. Like they don't know how to talk to her.
It's I don't want to say that. I don't want this to come across as me being unnecessarily sexist. I'm just kind of assuming this is WWE's point of view. It really does seem at times like when they bring like a diva out for commentary, they think there's a camera. They think that they're like on the screen the whole time, right? Because it's like they bring them out and sit them there, and then they have nothing to say, as if anyone's going to have notice at all. Anyone's going to do anything except complain. I mean, it's a strange look for them, but whatever. That's not I can't believe that was your takeaway from the show. I forgot about that the moment it happened.
Of course, all I care about is divas and commentary. That's
Yeah.
the only thing. That's the only stuff I care about.
Yeah.
So what else popped in your mind?
For all the listeners that agree with you, please, make sure to subscribe to Divas and Commentary, Peter's separate wrestling podcast. I have no part in. I don't know. Let's run through the show. I mean, I don't. We can get into Orton and Rollins more at the end. I don't know how much more there is to really say about it. I was on. I recorded a bit for friend of the podcast, Chad Duke's show today, and he asked me what because I'm always upbeat. He was like, "What's one thing that you're really not good with right now?" And I said, Dean Ambrose. Like it's sort of weird to look around the landscape of WWE, as much as I've defended his place in the past, and it's hard to look at everything else and figure out why he's not like main eventing, right? And certainly that could happen in a month, and that makes up for everything, right? But it's like it's weird because the premise of my piece this week is sort of like this great leveling that's gone on in the WWE over the past month, where mid-carders are main eventers and main eventers are mid-carders, and like everybody's got a fair shot. And yet somehow Luke Harper and Dean Ambrose, who are two of my favorite wrestlers, are having this really cool match that is probably going to steal the show. And I just feel like it's not getting any. I mean, they're giving it time on TV, but it just doesn't feel significant at all. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm expecting too much. But I just hope that there's I hope that Ambrose, gets a shot. I don't mind him being a sort of high mid card guy. The guys that it's easy to compare him to, the Jake Roberts and Brian Pillmans, they weren't exactly Ric Flair types as far as carrying a company, but I still think there's a lot more they could be getting out of him, especially right now.
I mean, I have two major takeaways from what you just said. Number one, when did we approve Chad Dukes as friend of the podcast? I mean, I like Chad, and I know him in real life. Friend of the podcast? You're like Ebro. The second we have a person on our show for 30 seconds, Ebro's like, friend of the show. I'm like, no. Friend of the show comes after like many visits. Chad's never even been on our show. And
that's a good point.
And furthermore, the fact that like you and many others so haphazardly compare Dean Ambrose to people like Brian Pillman and Jake Roberts is insanity. I mean, I see why you think he could, at his best, hope to be like them, but so far, I mean, all we see, I think, still with Dean is tons of potential. I mean, he doesn't have like a list of great matches so far or any particularly amazing moments. I just see tons of potential with him.
He had some great FCW stuff with Rollins, and he has a fairly reputable indie career, and he's had some really good matches in WWE. But I will agree with you to the extent that so far, as much of a pleasant surprise as it's been that like Rollins has translated a lot of his indie moveset to WWE, Ambrose's transition has not been as good. I remember watching his early stuff, and especially his FCW stuff, and being sort of shocked at how good he was, because there's something about him where I just don't expect it. And then it seems like the more time he spends in WWE, the more he just sort of, it's like he's hamming it up in a weird way. I don't know. There's something about his style that I'm not fully in on. Although I like watching him when he's on the screen, I'm drawn to him. And obviously he's a good talker, and I don't know. He just seems like, I mean, you're right. It's potential with him. But it's a really sort of kinetic potential that back when he was feuding with Rollins last year really had the crowd just eating out of the palm of his hand.
No, that part I agree with. I just, I mean, we'll see. I do think your point is still is true though, which is considering where he was just a little while ago versus what he's doing now is pretty crazy. Hey, who did John have in the U.S. Open Challenge?
All right, we're really skipping around here. He had what's his name? Kane. It was a big main match.
Yes.
Very
exciting.
Yeah.
very exciting when you see John Cena and Kane get together.
No, but okay. Listen, I'm gonna go to bat again for the John Cena U.S. Open whatever open call thing.
Because you're the world's biggest shill for the WWE. We know.
And yes, and for John Cena, that is the most excited I could have possibly been for a John Cena versus Kane match at any point over the last 8 years. I'm not saying it was the best match ever. I'm not saying it wouldn't have been more exciting if that had been, Dolph Ziggler or fill in the blank wrestler, but I was more excited just because of he's different than all the guys that have come before him in the Open, and it actually tied into the other storylines of the night. And I don't know, I just thought it was as good as that matchup could have possibly been, better than 10 times better than I would have expected. But anyway, before we get, that was a good moment. What did you think about it?
Their match?
Yeah. All right. But we got to touch on really quickly the legitimate friends of the podcast, the New Day, are going to beat the Lucha Dragons, sort of surprisingly, because the Lucha Dragons have been going over so big, and the New Day will be taking on Kid and Cesaro for the tag championships in the pre-show on Sunday. I'm not sure how that does anybody any favors, but somebody's got to work the pre-show, I guess. But what do you think? What are you excited for the New Day's impending heel turn? Do you think they're going to give them a chance to win the titles? What's going on?
I mean, listen, obviously I'd always be more excited if it wasn't on the pre-show. Speaking of which, real quick, are you gonna come with me to watch when I'm hosting, or are you gonna flake again?
Are you hosting at the bar again?
You know what? I'm glad you are not in charge of my promo team. Have I?
Well, listen, I was trying to remember the name and I couldn't remember what it was called. So.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. I will be hosting at Sweet 36, my Extreme Rules party at Sweet 36. Free admission with purchase of food or drinks. You do have to spend $25, but delicious wings. And if you want to get more info or reservations, 917-299 3321, 917-299-3321, or wppvparties@gmail.com.
I'm sorry, did you just give out your phone number on the podcast?
Yes, I did. And if you'd like to call me and make plans, 917-299-3321. Yes, I am hosting for Extreme Rules. It's usually pretty fun, the one after Mania. So I think you should come. But last time you said you were coming, and you didn't. And I had to sit and listen to the nuclear Zach Linder heat you had.
Oh, yeah. Zach Linder, former WWE standout employee, and I have a long-running feud. If you want to know the details behind it, you can call my phone number at 1-900-909-9900 and listen to me and Mean Gene Okerlund talk about the background of the Shoemaker-Linder feud.
God. In fact, he's standing by right now. You guys can't see it, but right behind me is a table with Zach Linder sitting there on a telephone, awaiting your call to hear about this feud. Anyway, so I'm excited. I mean, listen, I wish that the New Day wasn't going to be on the pre-card, but I guess it makes sense for now. But I am excited to see what those guys can do once they're actually given the go-ahead to really become legitimate heels.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think probably the biggest moment of Raw, and I don't mean this as a joke, a moment that maybe would have been better suited to be on the pay-per-view on Sunday was The Miz versus Damien Mizdow in a Right to the Names match.
Yes.
Very strange. Now, normally, if this had happened and everybody was complaining, why wasn't that good enough for the pay-per-view? I am the shill who says, maybe they'll have a rematch on the pay-per-view that'll be even better, or something like that. But when the whole point of the match was a bizarro stipulation, somebody gets the rights to their name, and we're a week away from a pay-per-view where all the matches have crazy stipulations, it seems like that would be the right popcorn match for Sunday. But maybe I'm crazy. I feel like having The Miz and Mizdow get a little spotlight on a pay-per-view would not be the worst thing. But
what do you know?
I don't know anything.
Exactly. You know nothing. Yeah, I mean, listen, I thought that would make sense too, but hey,
But it's nice to see Miz and Summer Rae teaming up and really putting that synergistic marketing for the Marine 8 or whatever into action. And it'll be is that what it is? Is it a Marine movie?
it is a Marine movie. It's not Marine 8, you son of a bitch, but it is. And by the way, I'm glad you said that because I was on the verge of saying, I'm glad it came together too because it was really important that they had it not just be kayfabe, and it makes sense when you see the Miz and Summer Rae together doing a talk show for one day when they do their Fox and Friends appearance. I want to know that they also work together on camera.
It's very, very strange to me that I mean, it's never not been strange, but it's so funny that is a going concern in this day and age when, it was not, I mean, it was 15 years ago, 20 years ago that wrestlers were just appearing with their enemies on like Family Feud and trying to win the game together. It's not like they break kayfabe more than that on the WWE network every day.
Every day.
And I'm not even talking about the documentaries, like in like random behind the scenes stuff on the YouTube channel. I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts the way they draw lines. But I think that just like other stuff that we've talked about before, it's not everything is a corporate policy written down by Darth Vader, and like transmitted all over the Death Star. Sometimes, just some like stormtrooper captain doesn't really feel like he wants to waste his day running something up the flagpole. And that's why a lot of that weird stuff happens. But anyway, it is nice that they finally got those two star-crossed lovers together. The one other thing that I know you.
Oh no, Delicious Dave, Delicious Dave, Delicious Dave, you're frozen. Oh no. The question is, ladies and gentlemen, is it just Delicious Dave who's frozen? Or is the entire podcast frozen right now? This is the adventure of doing this live. Oh, and how do I even get him out of here? Let's see. I'm going to try to eject Shoemaker. Okay, he's gone. And I'm going to try to get him back right now. Let's see. Delicious David Shoemaker. We'll invite him right now. And I was so excited about what he was going to say next. You never know what random WWE storyline he was going to be shilling for and tell you was amazing. Some storyline you hadn't thought anything about, Dave Shoemaker was going to put over as being the greatest thing ever. While we're waiting for Dave Shoemaker, let's talk about what I'm most excited about from the world of wrestling this week. What is that, you may ask? Oh, that would be the addition of the Raws that I alluded to last week on the podcast. Three Raws from 1997, 52 from 98, and 1 from 99. I don't know about you guys, but you guys know, Sam Roberts makes fun of me about this all the time. We talk about it pretty regularly on the podcast. Admittedly, I did not watch live week to week during the Attitude Era. So for me to get to watch in order in 1998 is both incredible and depressing because I am so dumbfounded how exciting the show used to be and essentially how boring the show is now. Hold on, guys. Shoemaker's hitting me up right now. Try again. Okay, let's try reaching out to Shoemaker one more time. All right, David Shoemaker. So yeah, I'm watching in order right now, and it is incredible. I'm watching from this is the period when I'm just watching from the beginning of 98 when Tyson first showed up, and the way they incorporated Tyson into the show and the build to getting Tyson onto the show was done so well. So it wasn't just enough that they had Tyson for WrestleMania a couple of months later. It's the way they built to getting Tyson on the show then. First they talked about him appearing before the Royal Rumble. What would his deal be? Then, when he showed up to the Royal Rumble, he didn't do anything. They just had him in the skybox watching. And then you knew he'd appear on Raw the next day. Then when he was on Raw the next day, they showed Tyson backstage mingling with all the wrestlers all night. What's he going to do? Blah, 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 blah. And built and built and built. And then the other thing that I really took away from watching these episodes, and me and Dipperstein talked about this a bunch, is how all of the different storylines at that point were meaningful. It wasn't just they didn't necessarily end Raw every week with the A storyline. They could end it with the B storyline. And it sort of wavers back and forth in the era. I don't know if you guys are watching, but these episodes at the beginning of 1998, many of you probably remember it because you're good, loyal wrestling fans, unlike me. At the beginning of 98, you have Triple H feuding with Owen Hart, and you have Shawn feuding with Undertaker. But Shawn's also about to get into his feud with Steve Austin, who wins the Royal Rumble, of course, just a few weeks into 1998. And so they're running these like storylines next to each other while at the same time giving a lot of other stuff time. And the incredible thing about during this entire period is they're building Rocky Maivia. The Rock is sort of a mid-card Nation of Domination guy who's just like on his way up, as Austin's already the main guy, Shawn's already the main guy, etc. And I will say one thing. I'll point out a negative from that era as I try to find Shoemaker. What the hell? Hey, I'm trying you. I invited you. One negative thing from that era, though, that blows my mind, is how much they just let Shawn and Hunter talk. Like, it is sometimes unbearable. Like, and they were so, I know you guys loved it at the time, and I probably would have loved it then too. And it was like, yeah, I love it. I love it. Looking back now, it's just like all they're doing is putting themselves over. This is a direct quote from David Shoemaker. Can you see this? His internet is fucked currently. So, pages are loading, but Gmail is terrible. All right, restart your router. You know he's not very smart. I'm entertaining the Peckerheads. Appreciate you guys bearing with. And wow, we have 176 people here live. Let's see if there's any interesting comments from the Peckerheads on Twitter. Let's go to Twitter and see what the people are saying. You know, I could talk about 1998 Raw all night, but we'll see. Rosenberg Radio giving out his number. The Masked Man is sitting in front of a Genius-esque bookcase setting. Who's the heel? Good question. We saw a picture of a dude in a mask smoking a cigarette for a while. Oh, that's because when he went away, it was his picture, I guess. We lost Dave. Yeah, I know. Dave is gone. Live Cheap Heat is Mage. Production values in Jays. Well said. What else is there? We're still on, says Eric. Thank you, Eric. Yes, we are. What did I do to Delicious? I didn't do anything. It's his bootleg internet. He said it's a Gmail problem. Anyways, while I'm waiting for Shoemaker, if you guys want to get at me with any questions, comments, whatever it may be, your own opinions from this week in pro wrestling, hit me up. Rosenberg Radio on your Twitter. Everything else here is working. I tried 2 computers and 2 browsers. What can I do here to try to get Shoemaker in? If it says his Gmail's not working, what does one do with this Peckerhead? Dude, it's Gmail. My Gmail's working, I think. I'm getting Gmails. I'm getting Gmails galore. All right. In the meantime, what have we not spoken about yet? Dean Ambrose versus Luke Harper, we mentioned. The Lucha Dragons versus the New Day. Okay. We mentioned that. Terrible announcing. Mentioned that. Fandango. Oh, yes. Fandango and Curtis Axel. I have to say, I loved how high Fandango gets on that leg drop off the top rope. I forgot how good he is at that. And it does seem as if he's like in babyface mode right now, actually, especially with him against Curtis Axel. Oh, Triple H and Kane. Okay, Naomi versus Brie. That was actually a pretty good match. We only talked about the commentary with Nikki, but that was actually a pretty good match. I enjoyed that. They told a little story. Um, and I'm into heel Naomi. That's just me. I like her. I like her big hair. I'm into the whole thing. Sheamus and Zack Ryder. Okay, you know. I have to admit, the new crazy look Sheamus is pretty cool. I think Sheamus has never done a great job at being a full blown heel or a full blown babyface. And I do think that this version of Sheamus is the most blatant heel Sheamus we've ever seen, which I really like. I don't know if it's the rubber bands in his beard or just the mohawk in general, but whatever it is, it seems to be working. And it has me excited for Ziggler, Sheamus. Then we had Kane and Cena. Um, the Miz and Sandow in that quick match that we just discussed. I mean, you have to plug the Marine Four. It's very, very important. Ryback and Adam Rose. I mean, okay, let's not even. And then Dolphin South. I mean, these are two guys who can go. Sheamus mate with the distraction. So Seth gets the win. I mean, again, this is my biggest problem with what's been going on. Is that no matter what, like I was just alluding to about the 1998 Raws, where the end of the show wasn't necessarily always the same two people. What really bugs me is that the end of the show is always Seth Rollins. Don't get me wrong, I think Seth is an incredible talent, but I think you put a lot of pressure on him and make it very easy for us to be bored with Seth because you end the show with him every week, even if he doesn't have something major to do. Tell Shoemaker to run to Starbucks. Good question. Wish you were here with your crew when they were talking to Jamie Foxx. Thank you. So do I. I missed that today. That Hot 97. Okay. The outlawing of the curb stomp. We haven't really gotten to talk about that yet. We talked about it off the air. People are tweeting that Google is down. That's what Shoemaker's telling me. He's a liar. Are you guys finding that? Live Peckerhead Radio is Mage. FaceTime him in. I don't think it works that way. I don't think I can FaceTime him in. Um, Shoemaker says he blames Roman Reigns. Let's just call Shoemaker and see if this is audible at all. It's going to be super boot, guys. Let's try it.
Joe.
Shoemaker.
Yeah.
What I'm doing right now is incredibly bootleg, but I'm going to ask the audience right now. They can tweet me at Rosenberg Radio and tell me if this is audible. According to my levels, you look audible. I'm holding the cell phone up to the microphone.
Okay.
Let's see. Well, I want to give you a topic. Talk about it.
I can't believe it's still working for you. This madness. Did you read my text?
Yeah, that people are saying it's all bad. That it's an issue with Google.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm pretty mage. Maybe they prioritize me because they know how mage I am. What are your thoughts?
That's totally feasible, man. You are very named.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out where the microphone is on my computer. Isn't it like on the top here? That's the camera. Where the hell is the microphone? What I was going to ask you was, we talked off the air about. We didn't talk on air yet about the curb stop situation yet, did we?
No, we did not.
Can you talk about that briefly? What are you hearing about the?
It's just one of these like just quintessential internet like WTF cluster messes. From what I can do, from my point of view, it seems that some story came out that they had banned the curb stomp because I think there's some concussion lawsuits coming down the pipeline. Some other various matters of sensitivity that they decided not to it's a bad look for the champion to, you know, kick somebody's head into the mat for his finishing move. Then it came out that wasn't the case. I think Meltzer came out and said that wasn't true, but then said that, you know, it was a semantic issue that he is indeed changing his finisher, but the curb stomp is not in fact banned. And then on Monday night, you know, he debuted this new DDT sort of thing, which is, I mean, it seems to kind of be, I don't think much to do about nothing is the right phrase, but it doesn't seem like the biggest deal in the world. Especially, I mean, and it's, you know, I mean, I hate to be that guy, but I think it's okay if there's like, you know, political and front office considerations that go into this sort of thing. I mean, it, you know, if, you know, every TV show we've ever watched has received notes from executives of the company about various, you know, matters they're sensitive to. So whatever. What really strikes me as odd, well, one, it's worth pointing out that it's not. I mean, they're saying, most are saying it's not officially outlawed. This might be, you know, the big, you know, shooting star press, you know, equivalent of pay-per-views that he brings out when he really needs them. But what we talked about was the really weird thing was that if they're gonna outlaw it, why not make that the stipulation? Why not involve that in the main event match at Extreme Rules? I mean, half of it is right there because Rollins outlawed Orton, you know, using the RKO. It seems like it would make perfect sense for Orton just to have outlawed the curb stomp, and then for Rollins to realize he can win without it, you know, and find some great new moves. But instead, it looks like they're just going the way of like the memory hole and hoping that nobody remembers he was jumping on people's heads 1 week ago.
I listened to everything you just said. I was going to comment. Then I saw a tweet from Orlando Rodriguez that said, for the 176 of us listening, this is like being at a SmackDown taping and seeing a finish reshot 3 times. Oh, God. Oh, God. That is really good. People are saying they're loving this bootleg Cheap Heat and that it's regular Cheap Heat at Jay's.
I think that is 100% accurate.
And people are saying that somehow, some way, you are actually audible from the cell phone right now.
All right, well, you know, that kind of thing is known to happen.
Yeah, I think you make a great point, though. It seems like it would have been a pretty easy situation in which if they wanted to get rid of the curb stomp, what a perfect way to do it. Why wouldn't they? I mean, okay, and then it's a separate question. Is the curb stomp, you're not here, Alexa? Come on.
Is the curb stomp what?
Oh, no, sorry. Alexa walked in the room. My adorable wife, and she's not going to say anything. Will you wear the Hulkamania shirt that I got you at WrestleMania for the audience? They'll be really turned on by that.
I hope somebody thinks that you're talking to me right now.
Hey, Shoemaker, will you wear that WrestleMania shirt I bought you at Mania? I mean, that Hulkamania shirt. I want to see that. No, what I was going to say was, is the curb stomp a move that when you think about it, should not be on television? Like, let's put it this way. And not to be that guy, but of all the stupid moves that like kids could try to do, you could try to do a curb stomp, and you really shouldn't try to do that.
Yeah. I mean, yes, but you really shouldn't try to do the running power bomb, like back of the neck first onto a wall or whatever a kid would use as a turnbuckle. You know, I can see where you're coming from.
And it's also, let's be honest, it's not really a wrestling move. It is a move popularized by the most disturbing scene ever.
You're right. And I mean, the name doesn't help it. I mean, the whole thing is just a little bit, you know, it's verging on the grotesque. When you said, I'm not offended by it. I don't have any real problem with it. So, like I said, I can understand if someone up high decides they don't want to use it anymore. That's great. I think if there's any real complaint about it, it's that this is only happening now. And I remember there were a lot. I mean, when he debuted that move, it got a really significant reaction of, all across the spectrum. People were on message boards saying, like, reacting to it the way that you're reacting to it right now, or that you're suggesting that someone might react. And some people said this is the coolest move ever because it's a real thing. That was, I guess, the counterpoint. It doesn't surprise me that this is happening. It just surprises me that, like, it's happening after this guy's been doing it for however long, and now he's champion. And it was only, like, the moment he won the belt that standards and practices were just like, oh, yeah, maybe we should not let him do this move. That will certainly lead to children having brain damage. I find it kind of hard to believe, but, there's been a lot more unbelievable stuff that's happened. And honestly, the whole point of this is to say, we spent 10 minutes talking about it. It's not a big deal. It's a move, and he has another move already, and he will continue to get more moves. And it's so hard. It's hard. Like I said, it's hard to understand, but we don't know what's going on. I don't think there's any reason particularly to demonize WWE because we don't get to see, our favorite finisher anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you. And by the way, I'm not saying I'm necessarily offended by it. Now, do you think on this particular podcast we have not spent enough time talking about Justin Bieber?
Were we planning on talking about Justin Bieber?
Well, I just know how much the people loved it last time. I kept getting tweets that said more Bieber.
Yeah, well, he is the biggest heel, the heel of the bench, I think it was called.
That is a fact. He is the heel of the bench.
Speaking of which, if WWE had a Justin Bieber, we said, why isn't there Justin Bieber? I said there'd be one in 10 years, but the closest thing they might have right now is the irrepressible Bo Dallas.
Yes.
And he had a great sequence on Monday night with Roman Reigns. I thought those two had a real chemistry. What did you think about that? I know Bo is one of your all-time favorites.
Well, much like Booker T feels about Naomi, I also think Bo Dallas is one of the greatest in-ring competitors of all time. And however, I'm embarrassed and not embarrassed to say that in watching the show live, I flipped around, I went to the gym, but I still saw everything. I thought, I either didn't see or don't remember what happened with Bo and Roman.
Say it again. Oh, you weren't. You don't remember what happened.
No, what happened? I may have missed this.
All right. So basically, Roman Reigns came out and just says, I'm not going to talk. He challenges Big Show to a fight, and instead Bo Dallas came out and actually just like instead of doing the kind of facetious pep talk, I mean, he did get to some of that. He actually just like read Roman the riot act. He was just like, Roman, let's face it, you're kind of a bust. You're the Tim Tebow of the WWE, and then Roman Reigns like Superman punched him in the face. But it was weirdly direct and kind of on the nose on Bo's part, and I don't know. I'll just take a moment now to talk about Roman Reigns in a kind of broader way. It's really reassuring that he's not in the main event of the pay-per-view, right? I mean, it should be taken as a generally good thing that WWE kind of got the message that they kind of need to like bring him back down a few notches and build him back up if they want him to be a main eventer, right? Weirdly, they've got him like a really specific message that we need to just take him back in time to his intro from last fall and do everything all over again, and I hope it works out better this time. That seems to be the most wrong-headed thing they could possibly do. The great thing about Monday was that it just shows that Roman Reigns actually has, it's not a lost cause. Seeing him next to Bo Dallas made me really excited. Seeing him next to just the usual suspects that get the show just makes me want to leave the room. So anyway, in rant on that, what did you think?
I mean, listen, you know where I'm at with Roman. I've been a big Roman defender from the beginning, and I think he's been really good recently and getting better. I hope you're right. I hope their approach is not that stupid. Um, I will tell you this. I mean, him versus Big Show is not terribly exciting. Then again, I don't think any feuds that are happening right now are terribly exciting. Um, so I think he's on the right path. I don't know what you can hope to gain. Like, does it do anything for Roman Reigns if he beats Big Show with the Superman punch on Sunday?
I mean, listen, if it's one Superman punch in the first 30 seconds of the match, I think that's a good thing. I mean, and that's in like the kind of theoretical booking sort of way. It makes him look strong. That said, what we want is to see Roman Reigns have good matches month after month. I'm not sure how dragging this out is. I don't know. I take that back. If he can somehow get a solid 15-minute match out of the Big Show, then yes, that will help Roman Reigns. Full stop. Anyway, I don't know if this matters to you, Rosenberg, or to the hundreds and hundreds of cheeky listeners out there, but it appears that Gmail is functioning again. If you want to try to get the chat back up.
Well, we're about to wrap this thing up, but I'm going to try to bring you in on principle. Hold on.
All right. Well, it's going to be really exciting. I'm glad that all the 107 listeners or whatever
167.
Not only are you getting a behind-the-scenes look at what recording Cheap Heat is like basically every week, but odds are this is going to be lost somehow and no one will ever hear it. And even if it is, even if we manage to record it, there's a very reasonable chance that Grantland will reject it based on audio quality alone.
They should.
Yeah, they totally should. So anyway,
did you get the invite?
I just X'd out of it because I thought that had been there forever.
No, that was a new one.
Invite me again.
Oh my God, Shoemaker. Shoemaker, I had a lovely meal or beverage the other day with Jacoby.
Really?
Yes, we talked about David Shoemaker galore, and I should tell our audience here that I'm starting a new weekend radio program this Saturday. Alexa, don't do that, or I'll put you on camera.
Oh yeah, this isn't working.
All right, good. Still not working. But hey, to our audience who's New York based, I'm starting a new. At least I don't know what's happening with it, but this Saturday I'm going to be hosting on ESPN Radio in New York on 98.7 from noon to 2.
What?
Yes, David Shoemaker. Yes. And who knows? Maybe in time I will be able to develop a little Cheap Heat segment on that show where we can talk a little bit of wrestling. I'm going to find a way to mention wrestling, obviously, no matter what, but I would like to develop a segment where we really talk wrestling. So if you're in New York between noon and 2 on Saturday, I'm doing it with my boy who I went to college with, my homie Robin Lundberg, and I. Berg and Berg will be on 98.7 Saturday. You know Berg and Berg. So Shoemaker, I was saying, but we got to wrap this up. I got to go to bed. I have more not fun things to do tomorrow. But when you were gone, I was talking about how interesting I find watching the way Raws were done in early 1998 and how like more than one storyline was used to like open and close shows.
Yes.
Like they really went back and forth, and the amount of time that they slowly built something big like the Tyson storyline. They really used week after week of hinting and talking and building to get somewhere. And then I was also pointing out that they also had just segments where Triple H and Shawn Michaels just talked like frat boys endlessly for 20 minutes on end, making terrible, inappropriate, perverted jokes.
Yes, that did happen. There were a lot of very long segments.
Yeah, but it is fun, dude. I don't know if you know this. I don't know if anyone's ever said this before. The Attitude Era in wrestling, pretty good.
Yeah, not bad. Not bad at all.
Not bad.
Before we take off, let's run through the Extreme Rules card and make picks. All right?
Let's do it. Do you have it in front of you? You need me to pull it?
Yeah, I have it right here. Starting at the bottom, and soon we'll be here. Tyson Kidd and Cesaro with Natalya versus the New Day with Xavier Woods. Tag team title match on the pre-show. Who you got?
I'm going New Day.
I'm going to go with Kidd and Cesaro because titles don't change hands on the pre-show. I'm sure they have, but I'm just morally opposed to it. All right, next. Dean Ambrose versus Luke Harper in a Chicago street fight.
A Chicago deep dish street fight?
Yeah.
Dean.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Dean, too. He needs it, and Luke is more Teflon, although, who knows? Roman Reigns versus The Big Show in a last man standing match.
Roman Reigns.
I'm with you. Okay. Dolph Ziggler versus Sheamus in I believe the first ever Kiss Me Arse match.
By the way, I made that joke on the podcast the first week, and it really became that.
You're magically able to predict Sheamus, things that happen to Sheamus, based solely on your terrible stereotypes of Irish people.
I know. I'm gonna go Sheamus in this one.
Yeah. I think that's the way to go. I think the only caveat is, if for some reason Daniel Bryan can't go and has to relinquish the title, I wouldn't be shocked to see them put Bad News Barrett into this match and do a three-way for the title, whatever. That's a real outside chance. Anyway, I guess what I'm saying is, if Daniel Bryan is hurt, then Dolph Ziggler is the guy to take that spot. Now, maybe it's Sheamus.
And then Dolph Ziggler.
But I think Dolph Ziggler is the only guy that can really, if they want to just keep doing the storyline that they had planned, with these two big names holding up the mid-card belt, I think it sort of has to be Ziggler. But maybe I'm crazy. All right.
You're right, but we'll see if they do that.
Next is Daniel Bryan versus Barrett. If this match happens, in a singles match for the Intercontinental Championship. Which, by the way, if you need any more indication that this match is totally up in the air, there's not even an extreme stipulation.
Yeah, it feels like Daniel Bryan is hurt and has to give up the title, but I hope I'm wrong.
I agree. I think it's Daniel Bryan if he's healthy, and if not, who cares? Okay, match of the night: Nikki Bella versus Naomi for the Deep Championship.
I mean, they have not done enough with Naomi yet for her to get the title. It should be Nikki still.
I agree, and yet I don't think Paige is going to be out for that much longer. Maybe I'm crazy, and maybe it'll be even weirder to have two Diva storylines going. I'm going to take a flyer on Naomi for this one.
Whoa.
All right, next match: John Cena versus Rusev in a Russian chain match for the WWE United States Championship. First of all, before we get into this, big props to Rusev for celebrating the release of the new Star Wars trailer and making Chewbacca noises when he would pet John Cena in the chain assisted accolade on Monday. Thought that was a really nice little Easter egg there. Anyway, who you got in the match?
John Cena with his U.S. title shirt. I don't see that going anywhere.
Yeah, I agree. Although there's going to be some really sweet shirts for Rusev if they had chains printed around the neck.
Good point.
That could be something to look into. All right, and the main event: Seth Rollins versus Randy Orton in a let me deep breath steel cage match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, in which the RKO is banned and Kane is the gatekeeper to the cage.
I'm gonna go Seth Rollins one way or another here. I don't think it's time for Randy to win any titles. Can't see.
Yeah.
I can't see how that would make sense. I'm not super into what they're doing with Seth, but I can't see how it would make sense. I'd be super.
You're
bored.
right. Yeah, I 100% agree. The caveat for all of this is we're making picks, but there's always the other option is always just as feasible, right? And we all agree that Seth Rollins, the point should be to make Seth Rollins look like a pretty, have a little run for championship establishment at the top. If that involves like an Orton getting the title for 1 week of that reign, I don't think that would be insane. There's a lot of ways they can do that and make Seth Rollins come out look better. But I think what we're seeing all up and down the card are a bunch of guys who are really clearly in need of the sort of affirmation that a big win could give them. And in some of the matches, both the people fall into that category. But for the most part, I feel like I don't actually think that we're going to be 100% right, but I feel more confident about these picks than I have at a lot of pay-per-views that we've talked about over the past year or so.
Agreed. Agreed. And on that note, I think you sound like shit, and we gotta go.
Well, don't blame the phone. I sound this way all the time. Anyway, it's been nice talking to you. Farewell the 100 and probably at this point it's down to about 45 humanoids that are listening.
149, and we appreciate them all. And next week we'll be back in studio for a regular episode of Cheap Heat.
And I would just like to say, the whole point of this was to celebrate Extreme Rules by having our own really difficult handicap in recording this podcast.
Exactly. The stipulation for this week's Cheap Heat was no studio whatsoever, no microphones.
I think that just we'll see on Sunday. The real winner are the listeners. See you guys later.
Peckerheads.
Humanoids.